and Homestead Ranch. I'm going to wait till a few more people jump on here. It's going to be a really quick video tonight. Hopefully service will be good and y'all can see this. I want to get everybody's opinion on some gardening techniques and see if you want me to talk about certain things like planting by the sign. So if you like that, let me know. I'm going to wait till some people jump on and we will talk about that. This is an old Appalachian tradition. So we'll see once people jump on what they think and whether they like it or not. I'll wait till a few more people jump on here. Hopefully everybody's getting supper on the table or getting done with it and they can pop on and watch. Let me know in the chat if you're watching or if you can see, you can hear me, all that good stuff. I'm not that good with live that often, so I just kind of wing it a little bit. So hopefully you can see me. But anyways, I did want to talk about planting by the signs and see if there was an interest in that and if people wanted to see that and me discuss that. I've talked about it before on some videos. Okay, we got one saying, Nate said, hey, you sound great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll wait for some more people to jump in. Hi from Iowa, Kim. Hey, Kim. Okay, it's only showing one person, so there may be something wrong with my service here, not showing people in the chat. So if y'all are here, let me know. That way I can talk to you guys. Kim, Nate, I want to know, do y'all know about planting by the signs? Do you practice that? Do you know what it is? Do you have any interest in that? Because I think we're going to start doing some videos on that, but I wanted to get everybody's opinion. And since some people are joining in here, I have a book that I ordered off Amazon. And if y'all know anything about Foxfire, that Foxfire is like the golden standard for anything Appalachia, anything old-timey. This book is called Old Timey Country Wisdom and Lore. This right here. I would recommend everybody getting this. This is like Cliff Notes for Foxfire. And this has planting by the signs. It has how to make nets if you're a fisherman. It has how to preserve stuff. It's just chock full of it. This is the book, and I would definitely recommend this book. I see some more people are jumping on, so I'm going to hold it up, and I'll go back and re-talk about it, guys. We're talking about planting by the signs. Let me know if you're here, and let me know if you want to learn about that, or if you know anything about that. A lot of people don't, so... Kim said, I don't practice it, but would be interested. I love the Foxfire series. Okay, then you need this. This is not anybody's, like, opinion like Foxfire. They don't tell you stories. This is all just, like, be sure this is preserved this way and do not mix this and do not do that. It's all just, like, it's even got old drawings in it, and it's instructions. But I would recommend everybody getting this book. It talks about... that's my notes inside. Water witching, maple syruping, weather wisdom, country remedies and herbal cures, cleaning solutions, pest purges, bird migrations, animal lore, weather lore. This is the book right here, that I would recommend everybody to get and put in their library. It talks about cheese making, butter, fishing, hunting. So, it's called Old Timey Country Wisdom and Lore is the name of it. That I got this book, and like I said, off Amazon. I think it was, well, I'll tell you, it's got a sticker on the back, $19.99. Now, I bought that several years ago. But again, this is like a condensed Foxfire book version, but it talks about planting by the signs in it. And it's got a whole chapter on moon lore. And the reason I did this live is I wanted to pop on and see if people knew about planting by the signs or had any interest, because it is truly like a dying art. We've got a hi. Hey, welcome to the chat. This is the whole page here on moon lore. And it is, it's pages, and it talks about phases of the moon. Then it talks about moon months. Like, we've all got signs. Like, I'm an Aries. My birthday's next week, April the 1st. But there's also, there's the Zodiac signs, but there's also a Zodiac sign for each day. So today is Pisces. And according to old-timey lore, and they've even got the diagram here where it's the man diagram, where it shows where each Zodiac sign coordinates with the human body. So the folklore says. Like Aries is, I think it's head. So you can plant and do stuff in certain signs. Go back and watch my older video if y'all have not seen that. If you're new to the channel, I did a whole video breaking it down, but it was kind of condensed. So this is all, again, folklore. But I looked it up this afternoon because I did not know when it started, planting by the signs. And apparently planting by the signs, I wrote this down, they've tracked it like to the Euphrates River. Way back then, like Egyptians did this. And actually, Germans brought this to Appalachia. I was very surprised by that. There's Scots-Irish influence, there's African influence, there's but mainly the Germans. And it all started with German ministers. They brought all of this down to Appalachia. And they started, I guess, pretty much the almanac. That's where this is coming from. Kate said I liked and subscribed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. So all of this is it's almanac stuff. You need an almanac. I get one every year. In fact, I don't have one this year though. I need to pick one up. But it talks about this kind of stuff and like the moon waxing and waning or waning, however you pronounce it, when the moon's getting bigger and when the moon's getting smaller. They say to plant stuff when it's getting bigger usually, when it's waxing, things like that. Root vegetables do good when it's getting in the smaller phase. So this is a whole, even to harvest, you're supposed to do in certain times. So I just didn't know if anybody was interested in that because there's also a whole section on here, and Foxfire talks about this as well, livestock. When to shear your sheep, when to incubate chicken eggs. The Almanac put that up this past month. An internet article about when you're supposed to hatch eggs. Certain days you're supposed to set them. So it's just moon lore and all, and it's people, you know, some believe in it, some don't, but it can't hurt to try, I guess. You know, it just can't. I feel like the moon, I mean, of course it controls the tide, it controls so many things that it would make sense that it would encourage plants to grow in certain phases and things like that. People even cut their hair during certain moon signs. People will, it talks about pruning your plants. Now, last year, my spring garden was the best garden that I have ever had. It was beautiful, and I planted it by the signs. And the signs that you're supposed to plant in, let me go back to it, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Those 3 days, not in those months, but those 3 days, I planted it in one of those, I think it was Pisces. It was the most beautiful garden I ever had. The summer crops, when I planted those in April and May, they did not do that well. But we were in a drought anyways, and I don't know what days I planted those in, but I don't know if it was random luck or if it was just what it was, but people did believe in this. I don't know now if people are even aware of this anymore, but old folks believe that it controlled everything. People had calendars hanging up in their houses and they would plant, you know, by the moon sign, and when was a good day to do this stuff and when wasn't. Funeral homes would have these calendars, banks. You can still find these now online. I had one last year, but I forget the name of the company, but you can Google it and find it. But anyways, there's just, it's so much information. And it's, like I said, it's very, very confusing. You have to stay on top of it. But you can Google this stuff. You can go to the farmersalmanac.com. There's a lot of free stuff on there to find. And also, I wrote this down. I've been on this website, astroseek.com. Just type in, like, what's the moon phase for today. And that's where I found that it was Pisces. Today and tomorrow, and then Aries, and then Taurus, I think, is the 31st. Or Aries is 30th and 31st. Either way, it tells you all this stuff. And so, like Aries, you're not supposed to plant in that sign. You're supposed to only prune or cultivate. You're only supposed to work the dirt, the soil, because it's not good planting signs. It's very confusing. Very confusing. It's very in-depth. And trying to get it in the right sign and in the right moon phase too is difficult. So the best thing is just to go to the almanac.com and it'll tell you, like, hey, today's good for planting carrots, in which it actually is. The 26th today is good for root crops. In Pisces, it's the feet. It does good underneath. So beets, radishes, carrots, things like that, they do great when it's in that sign. So they say. I don't know. But I just wondered if y'all had any interest in it. That's why I wanted to pop on really quick and see if I need to start making videos on this. I'd like to preserve this because you just don't find a lot of this information. You just don't see it anymore. I don't see it. And I think it's, you know, if anything, it's just an art to me. But this is, I see the numbers are going up. This is the book that I was telling y'all about, Old Timey Country Wisdom and Lore. I got this off Amazon. It's Cliff Notes for Foxfire. It's kind of what it is. It's just a condensed version here. Teresa said, well, hey there, Alabama, from your Alabama neighbor. So good to see you back. I saw your older video. It was great. Thank you very much. We were talking about planting by the signs, and if people had an interest in it, and I told them I had this book, I would recommend this book to anybody just for old-timey stuff. But I was trying to see if people had an interest in us doing videos about planting by the signs. Y'all let me know your thoughts. Kim said she was interested in it. I just don't know. I don't know if people even know what I'm talking about with this, is the thing. I don't know if they're, you know, when I say plant corn in Libra, I don't know if a lot of people know that, or that Aries and Leo are barren, and that's when you prune. I don't know if people understand that, or if they even want to understand that, or if they even want to try it, because really it's just a, you know, you don't know if it's going to work or not. So old folks swore by it. So I know my great-grandmother did. That's what my mother told me, and the people in our family did. I think this was a very, very common practice. Teresa said it is very interesting, but kind of hard to follow a bit. It is. It's hard for me. Like, I took down notes before I even talked to you guys, because it's very, very confusing. The best thing I can tell you to do is Google what day it is. Just say, hey, what is the moon phase for today? And that's that website I just mentioned, astroseek.com, and it'll tell you. It's free. So will the almanac. Or buy you an almanac, and it'll tell you, and you don't even have to Google it. And I would do that. I would get me the almanac. I would try to get a book to learn about it. And if I could find a good book just talking about this, if I knew somebody to ask, I would. If y'all know, let me know. Something more in-depth than the almanac is what I'm looking for. Because people would, like I said, people would cut their hair certain days. People would cut their nails certain days. People would, you know, there's a whole, like, their lives were dictated by it. You only did stuff certain days. I wouldn't want to do it that in depth, but with gardening, I would really like to try it this year, because our spring garden was so good when I planted it in Pisces last year. Let's see here. Fry, did I say that right? Fry Homestead? Is it Fry? Tomorrow's supposed to be a good day to plant potatoes. Yes, I just mentioned that because we're in Pisces, so that's the feet. I'm no expert at this, Bible. I'm not, but I looked it up earlier. I'm still trying to learn it, and but I want to practice it. I don't want to be just rigorous with it, but I want to keep this art form going and be able to share it with other people. Charlie R., we need a planting by the moon for dummies guide. That's, yeah. And that's why I was saying this book has a chapter on it, and it's very good. I'm not endorsed by these. I'm just telling y'all, when I find a good book, I recommend it, because I've got a library, and I've got tons of books, and I recommend them when I see them. Foxfire is great, but Foxfire is more of a cultural experience. If you're not Appalachian, then it's kind of, it's immersing you in that culture. And if you are Appalachian, it's like living back through your grandparents' stories or your great-grandparents' stories. That's what Foxfire is. This is more like, hey, this is what they did, and this is what you do. Randy said Farmer's Almanac. Yeah, and I just said, you know, the Farmer's Almanac's a great place to start, but I want something more in depth, and just really digging into it. The almanac's kind of like this book. It's just very short, sweet. These are the dates, these are signs. I want to know, like, the history behind it. And like I said this afternoon, I just found out that the German ministers brought it to Appalachia. Apparently they've started it up north in the Northeast, and then it just kind of died out. But ministers actually wrote notes promoting this, the German ministers, and they would tell people to plant by the signs and do all this, and then it made its way down south here. We kept it up, kind of fizzled out up there, and it just became an Appalachian tradition, but it never was really Appalachian. It was a Northeastern tradition. So that, to me, is just, that's very interesting, stuff like that. I just thought it was, you know, neat. So Fry said, yes, you said it correctly. So, all right. Randy said, where are you? We're in Alabama. We're at the very tip of the Appalachian Mountains, the literal tip. Fry said, sorry, I didn't catch you from the beginning. No, you're fine. I just kind of am going all over the place with this and seeing if people were, you know, interested in planting by the signs and whether I should do the videos or not. What I'm really wanting to get into is we hatch eggs here. We hatch chicken eggs. We've done quail before. We've got ducks. We've got the whole 9 yards. And I'd like to do a segment on this about livestock and really delve into that. You're only supposed to shoe horses on certain days, according to this, or shear sheep or dehorn goats, according to the signs. So I'd like to do something kind of compiling it all together to get people interested, especially if they have farm animals, that and the gardening. So that's why I was trying to see if there was an interest in this. Fry said hello from Washburn, Tennessee. I've never heard of Washburn, but I know a little bit about Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, maybe. You can tell me what side of the state you are, and then I'll pick it up. Okay. Randy said my family all come from southern Missouri and the Ozarks. Okay, very good. Well, glad to have you here on the channel and chat with us. And have y'all heard about planting by the signs? Do y'all practice it? Everybody that's in the chat, let me know. I have practiced it once. I do not follow it, though. I'm trying to see here when I wrote the notes. Something else, since today's, somebody said today's a good day for potatoes, and it is because it's Pisces, so is tomorrow, but peanuts. Peanuts is also good because it's a below ground crop. It's just interesting to do that. Unless you get on the Almanac website daily and see all this stuff. The actual Almanac, the calendar in itself, the booklet, it gives you this information, but it's kind of hard to follow. It is. It's pretty condensed. It's a chart if you've never seen it in the back, and it'll give you all the moon signs and all that. To me, the website's easier. If you've got internet access, you can just type in like, hey, what should I plant today? And usually the almanac will come right up. But to plan far out, you really need a calendar to see. And you've got to look at the moon phases too. Again, the waxing and waning or waning, how everybody says it, getting smaller. Getting it to time right with the weather is tough. And that's usually where people get stopped on this. It's hard because when you've got a great sign, you know, a great, like, hey, we're in Pisces. The problem is it may be a downpour outside and you can't plant. You know, if you've got Pisces and it's waxing moon and then, you know, so I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to do. It's very tough to do. Fry said about 35 miles northeast of Knoxville, so eastern Tennessee. Okay. Okay, very good. Welcome down here to central Alabama, to the very tip of these mountains. Teresa said, I tried a couple years ago, but didn't stick with it. That's kind of what happened with me. That's really what happened with me. But I made the statement yesterday, I said, or the day before yesterday, I said, I've got a feeling this year is going to be a great gardening year for us. I don't feel like we're going to be in a drought. I just don't feel it this year. I feel like it's going to be a good thunderstormy summer. You need thunderstorms. You need them for stuff to grow. You can water it all day out of tap. You can water it out of well water. It's still, you need those thunderstorms. I truly believe that. You need a good summer thunderstorm, a soaker, to have good gardens. I feel like this year we'll have one. And I feel like we'll have a better year this year. So I wanted to see if we could get other people into doing it. And I may try to do it myself. I may try to plant this weekend, actually, early for me. We always plant Good Friday or either past April 15th. That's what James Spann says, but I just don't. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So, but I may try it this year. Now, as far as like pruning on certain barren days, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough for me to do because, I mean, you got to get out here and work your garden when you can. So it's a lot of dedication to try to stick with this. Just Country Girl said, hey, friends, so interesting. I absolutely love diving into the way our grandparents did things. Everything just seemed to work right. Well, it seems like we've got some interest in here on this, and maybe some people want to do it because it's a lot of work. So I wanted to make sure that there was an interest before I, you know, start doing segments on this, because I'm gonna have to find some books and research this and just see what we can do. And let me look through the book and see the segments here and what they've got. So they tell you, and they do give you in this book an example calendar. Like, this is how you read it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it says like time and date when Luna, the moon, enters each sign. So it'll say, and it's an example. It's not this month, but okay, just say the 28th, it enters Aquarius. And then the 29th, it's in Aquarius. And then the 30th, it's Pisces. Each day is different. You'll usually have 2 or 3 days where we're in each zodiac sign of each month. And then the moon has its phases too. So it gets confusing. And then This chart here says like Aquarius, it's a dry, barren sign. Not good for planting. Pisces is third in line to be the best. You've got Scorpio and Cancer as the first. Fruitful, productive, exceptional root growth. That's why somebody said potatoes earlier somewhere in here, because it is great for root growth. Aries is a dry, barren sign. Taurus is semi-fruitful. So, and on like that. It just goes through all that stuff and tells you what's good to plant and what's not. And also each quarter of the moon phases determines when stuff's good too. It's very confusing. Maybe we can try to simplify it and break it down, but I'm gonna have to learn myself. I'm aware of it, but I'm not versed in it. So it seems like there's some interest in harvest days too. You're supposed to harvest during certain signs. So it did say in here planting time versus germination time. Which one do you follow? If you started a seed, like I started my tomatoes, I always start them on Valentine's Day. Here, does that sign matter, or does it matter when you plant them in the ground? It says when you plant them in the ground is what matters, not starting seeds indoors. So I tried to do that before and plant my seedlings inside based on a sign. It says that does not matter. What matters is when they get put in the ground. Kim said, when is Libra good for root crops, please? Let's see here. I will tell you. Libra, it says, is a semi-fruitful, moist sign. Very good for pulp and root growth. Plant flowers, root crops, vines, hay, lettuce, cabbage, and corn or hybrids for fodder. Now, as far as this month, there's not a Libra the rest of March. That I know, 'cause I looked it up. I don't know when in April that I would need a calendar, or just look it up, April moon sign, or go to astroseek.com and it'll tell you what days we're in Libra. Now, on that note, check the moon too. See if it's getting bigger or getting smaller, because that depends. And I think if the moon is getting smaller, that's good for root crops. But if the moon is getting larger, that's good for above ground crops like corn, tomatoes, things like that. It's back. I'm going to have to look that up. It's backwards. Foxfire talks about this a little bit. But I will tell you, if you've read Foxfire, you know that it's interviews with people. Again, it's like a cultural immersion experience. A lot of what they said, the people, like I only plant green beans on X, Y, and Z, this sign. That contradicts a lot of what I've seen in this book and on the Almanac website or in the Almanac itself. So I don't know if that was just their opinion or they had good luck and they just passed that tradition down in their families. I don't know. I've underlined all that stuff. And I think I showed y'all in the last video about this, but that gets confusing. So I don't know which to take. I don't know to take their word. Oh, I got a gnat. Take their word for it or take the book, you know. So I try to go with a general consensus here of what it says. Corn is good for Libra. Since you said Libra, I wrote that down. It says corn is good for Libra. I don't know where I got that this afternoon. But the way it sounds pretty good anyways. Okay, like third quarter of the moon, that would be full moon, waning, gibbous, and decreasing light. Plant bulb or root crops, also biennials and perennials. Plant vegetation that produces its yield in the ground, like beets, radishes, and whatnot, which today the moon is getting smaller. So now would be great. And we're in Pisces. Today and tomorrow, if you can plant anywhere, I'd be planting beets, carrots, onions, peanuts, potatoes, radishes. We don't plant rhubarb or rutabagas. Y'all might. Strawberries, turnips. But yeah, that's root crops. So you got the right moon sign and you've got the right zodiac sign, Pisces. So that would be excellent. So y'all plant root crops tomorrow if you can where you are, if you want to try to follow this. So, and then we get into, I think it's Aries, which is barren. You're not supposed to do anything, which Saturday is Aries, but then I think Sunday is not. I'm not sure, but one of the two, I thought, well, I can get it. We've got storms coming in this weekend, so I thought, well, I can get it in Saturday. It won't be the right sign, but by the time it gets watered on Sunday, it'll be okay. So, Just Country Girl said, but it seems too late for beets. The heat for me will get them first. Yeah, I was just saying if you could plant them, if you live like just now, there's still snow on the ground, but you're trying to get your garden started just for people anywhere. Because I've learned on here, when I say I'm ready to plant stuff, people are saying, hey, we're just now starting pepper seeds indoors. So I try to keep up with it all and tell everybody everything. We didn't plant beets this year. We just didn't. I liked them. My husband did not care for them at all. He's not a beet guy. I'm not planting onions again. I don't know if you guys are, but we just didn't, I just didn't last year. So, I mean, I planted them, but it was just not, it's kind of like I did it. I got the t-shirt. We don't eat a lot of onions, so I just didn't this year. But anyways, there's a lot to it, and hopefully everybody will be getting ready to plant here soon in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have something out on this. We may, like I said, we may go on and plant this weekend. We've got to redisc our main spot here by the house. This is deer daycare. Deer are gonna tear it up. I already know this. I ran one out of the garden yesterday, and it's just dirt. So I already know how this is gonna be. But we're going to try to redisc that, and I think I'm going to try to get it in this weekend. There still may be a frost here in central Alabama. There always is a cold snap before Easter. I may be doing wrong by doing this, but I just want to plant something. And at our other location where we've got all of our raised beds that y'all have seen before, we have an armadillo. All my lettuce is gone. I have just a little bit that I showed you guys I planted a month and a half ago. And what is not eaten up by an armadillo is like this tall. So it's just not been, last year was my spring garden, early spring garden year. This year it's done nothing. All I wanted was lettuce. Again, I didn't care for the onions or beets. But an armadillo apparently will eat crops, because he did last night. He has been rooting around up under them, but now he just went like a lawnmower, went through there. It looked like my chickens had gotten a hold of it, but I knew they didn't because they're all in coops. So that's a rough thing, and it's hard because, you know, they only really come out at night, so we're gonna have to get some kind of trap set up and get this armadillo done. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else I want to say about this. I don't think y'all are gonna be interested in the stuff like to do around the home, like this says when to pour cement on Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. I don't think y'all, I don't know, you might. I might go over it just for a quick thing in a video, but I don't. Now, it does say fertilizing. The moon should be in a fruitful sign such as Taurus, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, Capricorn, or Pisces if you fertilize. Moon in decreasing light phase, 3rd or 4th quarter. So, everything about the garden, they have decided, and it's folklore, that it revolves around the moon. Whether you consider it fact or folklore, that's your own opinion. I'd like to see myself if it proves true, but there's you know, there's evidence out there that people, for some reason, for centuries, people did this, and so either way, I think the art needs to be preserved. Teresa said we have terrible luck with onions, so that's a no-go for us too. Yeah, ours made, they were small, but it's just, I get a headache every time I eat an onion, or anything with onion in it. I think I'm just like almost allergic to them. So I don't know if they're just so strong or what, but I grew it because I'd never grown it before, and I'm glad I did, and now I'm done with it. Moving on to the next thing. It's just not, you know, I may grow them in a couple years, who knows? That's like eggplant. My very first year I wanted to grow eggplant, and I did, and I loved it. But then I said, yeah, it's a waste of time. I don't care for it. And then now this year I'm going to go get some eggplants. I didn't start any seeds, so I just want a couple eggplant transplants to do, like eggplant parmesan. You go through phases where you do stuff and then you don't, and then you know, so whatever. But anyways, guys, if you're interested in just a good all-around book, this one right here, I would recommend Old Timey Country Wisdom and Lore. You can get it off Amazon. You could get it like an Ollie's. I don't know if you guys have Ollie's where you are. They rotate books, though, through there. And you may want to check. Let me tell you this. I read all the time. I read novels. I read wacky stuff. I read all kind of stuff. There's a website called Book Outlet, bookoutlet.com, that I've been on. And they have books for discount anyways, fiction and nonfiction. They got a lot of cookbooks. They got a lot of autobiographies. They've got fantasy stuff. They've got whatever you want. But they will do sales where, like, just say all fiction is $5.99, and I ordered from them a couple of weeks ago. The shipping was fast, and every book was $5.99. It was like stuff you would get from Target that was overstock, or bookstores. They would even have like a Target sticker on it. They were buying the books and then reselling them. So some place like that may have stuff like this. I don't know. I've not specifically searched gardening stuff, but it may save you some money. I don't know how often they do those sales. Someone said a couple of times a year. So you may just want to check with that. If you need gardening books, they had fishing books. They've got really anything you want, especially if you want cookbooks. Go to bookoutlet.com. They've got bukus of stuff like that. Because books are expensive. I mean, this was 20 bucks way back when. I have no clue what it is now. Foxfire books are very expensive. Very expensive. But anyways, it's a shame books are so expensive. You know, it's something so good. I mean, if you're buying new novels that are being released, you're looking at 20 to 30 bucks per book. So that's a crying shame to me. But hey, everybody's got to make a living. So I just wish they were cheaper. People might have more books if they were. So, but anyways, I love to read, and I read anything, everything. And I like educational stuff. But anyways, the book has everything from leather working to bread making, drying foods. It talks about leather breeches, if y'all know about that. Like I said, this is kind of like the Cliff Notes for Foxfire. So that's what, that's one of my favorite books I've got. And one of the other ones that I have is something similar to this. And it did come from Ollie's. It's a Country Living 101 or something. I'll show you tomorrow. It's got a huge rooster on the front, and it talks about how to build coops for certain animals, how to get started, basically. You don't need it later on, that type of book. Encyclopedia of Country Living, that's it. You don't need it later on, but getting started you do. But if you get goats when you start and you decide you want horses later, that book may be beneficial, you know, if you add animals later on to your homestead. So knowledge never hurts to have in paper form. All right, guys, we'll try to do some videos on this, and I'll try to get something together. It seems like y'all are pretty interested, and we will do some research and let y'all know. And if y'all can think of any books, or if you hear of any books about the zodiac signs, lunar phases, planting by the signs, let me know, and I'll research myself. But I'm going to jump off here and get the dogs, and we'll be towards bed. Y'all have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow on Harmon Homestead Ranch. Bye, y'all.